All right, welcome back to Business Owners Speak. Today, I'm thrilled to have with us Denise Righetti with Savor Our City. Denise, how are you today?
I'm doing great. Thank you, Matt. How are you doing?
I'm doing really well too. Really nice to have you, and I'm anxious to hear about this interesting business. So, if you could start off, just tell us a little bit about you and the business.
Sure, I'd be happy to. Savor Our City. I started the company myself 10 years ago. We're headquartered in Boca Raton, Florida. That's where I reside. And I kind of got started because I was the marketing manager for the largest property owner in downtown Boca Raton. And when I was hired to help um, promote the local businesses or tenants of theirs. And they seem to have a very large portfolio of restaurants, over 100 restaurants at any given time, all mom and pops, no chains. So basically, I was coming on board and I was helping them to create their social media platforms and create events, help support them. And I was doing that, and I decided that it'd be fun to create a kind of like a supper club. I'd pick a different restaurant every month, and I'd create a tasting menu. And so people would have a chance to sample a lot of the variety of signature items on the menu, include a glass of wine or a cocktail, tax and tip, and basically it'd be like 30, $40. And it was very popular. The restaurants enjoyed it because they were being exposed to new people. The people enjoyed it because it was a great value. And basically, I would limit it to the first 20 people. So it was kind of, in demand. And so I did that, and I created a downtown Boca wine series, a 12-week wine series. I'd pick a different restaurant. For people would get to sample 3 different wines paired with 3 different food pairings for a flat rate of like $25. So, it was doing something in the community that people really engage, were enjoying. Started becoming known as the foodie girl. People, when they would ask me, where's a good place to take these people or this group or what have you. So I started kind of building a little reputation for myself. Different competitions, local cooking competitions in town. I was asked to become a judge at. So in the area, I started becoming well known for what I was doing. So I had decided to branch out on my own. After parting ways, I started doing food tours. So I had first heard about a food tour when I was on a vacation in San Francisco, and I didn't really know what it was. And then at that time, I was watching Food Network religiously. So I started hearing about it more. And then I said, do we have these in South Florida? So I Googled it, and I found a woman who had been running her food tour business for about 2.5 years at that point. Now, I was also a food writer, so I got myself invited to take a couple of her tours. One was in Wynwood and one was in South Beach. So it was like on the tour that the light bulb went off, and I said, this is what I have to be doing. So I had approached her, and I asked her if she would be interested in expanding her operations to Palm Beach County and become a partner with me. And she very enthusiastically said of expanding into Palm Beach, but I'd be looking for a tour guide, not a business partner. So I went, oh, okay. Well, at this point, I already had, a marketing background. I already had contacts with the hotel concierge. I knew a lot of the restaurants. So I said, okay, so your loss, my game. I'm going to just go ahead and start it. So I actually started the very first food tour in Delray Beach, and I called it Taste Atlantic Avenue.
Okay.
And that tour is still in existence, but I only operate now private tours. I ran public tours, a regularly scheduled tour every Saturday. It was a lunch tour that people could buy into. People would arrive as strangers. 3 hours later, they were leaving high five, hugs, exchanging cards. They were friends. And I like that camaraderie. That's really what, drew me to starting this type of business, bringing like-minded individuals together, sharing a meal. But it just was very cumbersome marketing to onesies and twosies. So I figured I was just going to go ahead and concentrate all my efforts in marketing to groups. So social and then corporate groups. So today we are primarily marketing, our clients are primarily corporate groups, local companies who book us for team building,
Mhm.
holiday parties, client appreciation and networking events. And also, we get a lot of convention groups that come into town and they're looking to get a taste of the local culture. So in the past, when convention groups would come in, they would basically have options to sign up for, golfing, fishing, boating, or going to the spa. And about 10 years ago, cultural immersion experiences became all the rage. So we were, set to, thrive in this in type of environment. This is what we were doing. So our food tours are very popular, cooking classes. We do custom photo scavenger hunts where we will incorporate some of the company's core values, catchphrases, slogans, mottos into the clues. And then we do an award ceremony. So it's team building is very popular, especially also coming out of the pandemic when all the teams were remote. So bringing them together, doing the team building. We do a lot of combination of activities, scavenger hunt plus food tour, doing a cooking class, doing a mixology. So that's another thing that became very popular during the pandemic, a lot of drinking going on. So mixology classes, people wanting to, learn how to make different cocktails. So we do a mixology class. We provide either mobile to people's offices or people's homes, or we work with a restaurant or a bar to be able to host this. We own our own bar tools and kits that we provide to use for the class. We also do a mix and munch, mix for mixology and munch for food. So that's a combination. And we can also do a mix and munch followed on tack on a food tour. So we can do, a lot of variety of different experiences, a standalone or a combination thereof. So we started, as I said, in Delray with one single experience. And today, 10 years later, we have grown nationally. We're cover from South Florida, from Miami to Palm Beach.
Mhm.
And then we jump up to Central Florida. We are in several neighborhoods in the surrounding greater Orlando area and Tampa. We are in other parts, little pockets of North Florida, like Amelia Island, and we're in Bonita Springs we've been to. But then we are out of state. We're in New York, in Boston, in Maine. We're also in Denver, and we're growing. We've been recently requested for Louisville, Kentucky, of all places. And we have several cities now in California and Southern California that are looking for us to expand there. And Philly and DC are also we're growing in there too. So
Wow.
busy people here.
I
Yeah.
guess. And so walk us through. So let's say I've got a group of 15 people. I'm in Boca and I come across your website and I'm like, this sounds cool. It's like a travel agent for restaurant or experience. Like what's the process look like with you and your clients?
So if you found me through my website, you probably submitted a request for that particular experience, or just saying, I'm coming into town. I have a team of this many people. We're open for ideas. So you've given me a good, basis of what to start with. Then I'll find out if you have a budget or not, and what time you're free. Do you need transportation? If you chose a walking food tour, we might, if in Boca, we might do it in Meisner Park or Royal Palm Place. I ask, we find out if there's any food allergies or dietary restrictions. If the people have a preference for, any type of cuisine. So I kind of, everything I do is customized
Yeah.
for the client. They're no cookie cutter, but I may have some typical restaurants that in general that are that we will use. But it's typically a 2.5 to 3 hour adventure, and you're just needing to show up and let me take you to each of the places. And by the end, you have had a complete meal. So it's a progressive dine. So signature tastings, and we're at 3 or 4 different stops. And by the end, with dessert, you are completely full. We typically include alcohol pairings at 2 stops. So it could be a signature cocktail, or it could be a glass of wine or a craft beer.
So how did you go about with the expansion, moving to, I mean, I understand it's a mobile business, but did you just have the need in these other areas and requests, or was it a conscious effort? Like, let's go get a presence in these other areas.
Yeah, that's a good question. So my background, actually, I had my first job was working for Royal Caribbean Cruise Line, and I worked on board ships. And I'm sure that's really what planted the seed for what would eventually become my business, because I was always fascinated by different cultures and cuisines, and meeting people from all over the world. So after I started Savor Our City, I tapped into my cruise line background, thinking Miami, being the biggest cruise capital of the world, would be a great spot, but it's an embarkation debarkation port, not a port of call. Port of calls are better for shore excursions. So I did get a request to head up to New England, where we started for the cruise lines, creating shore excursions, creating and operating shore excursions for passengers taking like the fall foliage cruise. So that's what opened up Maine, and then Boston with that. So that started that, and then getting some huge contracts with destination management companies. These are companies that are, as the name implies, they're experts in the destination. They work with a lot of financial services companies, banks, things like that, and tech companies that are coming into a destination for a conference. They'll handle all aspects of that conference, from the hotel contracts, getting the people from the airport to the hotel, all the on-site meeting logistics, and then they'll work with local tour operators like myself. I'm a vetted partner now with several of them, and this has been like having the best salespeople without having to pay them. They'll come to me and say, we have a group, they want to do this tour or this activity, and I'll basically say, okay, I'll make it happen. And so, with them, a lot of them have multiple locations. So I've grown along where they are
Yeah.
to service them. That was the whole idea of
Yeah, like
expanding.
a built-in referral sources, right?
Exactly. It's like you build it, they'll book it. So I love it.
So as a business owner all these years, what have you found, at least for this particular business, has been kind of some of your main challenges?
I've been working pretty much alone for almost about 9 out of the 10 years,
Hmm, okay.
other than freelance staff that I have. But now I did bring on my brother a little over a year ago to help me in the back end and operations. So what I was doing for many years, I was getting by, but it wasn't preparing me for full expansion, for full scale.
Right.
And my brother has that kind of a background to take me to that next step. So there's been a lot of the behind the scenes getting us to be where we are, to be prepared for even more growth.
Right.
A little bit of a challenge not having grown faster, but because I've been doing it on my own and slowly, without taking on any investors or partners. I've bootstrapped the entire business. It's really a no debt business, other than, when the pandemic came and nobody was traveling or booking groups, I've had to take out a SBA loan to help, like many people did.
Sure.
But other than that, everything has just been putting money back into the business, and it's been sustaining and, thriving slowly but surely.
That's great. That's a real success story. So as you look forward, right, as the business owner, what do you see as the next phase? Or just more of the same?
So, I think that once we can continue to grow in the markets and we are in a position, I've never even advertised. Everything
Yeah.
has been just through repeat referral and, that kind of business, and having good, you know, people who find, it's SEO, just, natural find. We're going to probably beef up a real sales team and have more, staff to be able to, service all of these cities that we're opening up,
Right.
and really
Okay.
just grow with more of a management team as well.
Sure. Great. And then, you've made this work for 10 years, and especially through, I'm sure, what were a couple of really rough ones, and your exact industry being the most affected, right, by COVID and the pandemic. So what is some words of wisdom you may give to other business owners just trying to make it happen?
Well, I think that the key thing is being flexible and being able to pivot to figure out how can you be relevant. So my company, we're in Florida, so we opened up sooner than many of the
Right.
other states, but I was fortunate enough to have been hired by a city of Tamarack during the pandemic. They sought me out and hired my company to help support their local mom and pop restaurants. And so, that wasn't necessarily what I had been doing, but it's certainly something I had done in the past. So put on that hat, pivoted, came up with some creative ideas to bring people to the restaurants. We had so Tamarack is a very interesting city because there are so many diverse ethnic
Yeah.
people there that we identified like 5 distinct nationalities or cultures. We called them flavors. So we created a digital map and a printable map, and we also had a contest. We divided it up into the different cuisines. So all the different restaurants that wanted to compete in the different cuisines had for best appetizer. So we did something like that. We did like a scavenger hunt where they had to go to, different restaurants. So, that being able to pivot is the number one thing. And we did that. And we also did some virtual experiences.
Okay.
So that wasn't something that, we had done before, but we were able to have a few groups that, during this time that booked us for that.
Right.
So.
Well, Denise, that's great advice. And in any industry, the ability to see what's coming and adjust and change your model. Don't be stuck in the mud, right? You gotta go
Right.
with it sometimes. So really interesting story, Denise, and really appreciate your time. It's Denise Righetti, Savor Our City. Thank you so much for taking the time today, and we wish you the best of luck moving forward.
Thank you, Matt. It was really great talking to you and sharing the story. I appreciate it.
You
You
bet.
have a good rest of your day.
Thank you.